Hey guys, so today I am going to finish my videos up talking about my experience with narcissistic uh, narcissistic abuse from my father, and I will try to make this one video, but if I feel like I'm going on too long because it's a lot, then I'll stop it and make the second part right after this. So I'm going to start off by talking about why I moved in with him in the first place. And the reason I did is because when I was 25, my grandfather, his father, had passed away. And I was really close to my grandfather, and he was always the man in my life who was like the positive father figure. He did everything that, good dads were supposed to do, and we were really close. And so after he died, I just thought that maybe there was still a chance that my biological father and I could have a better relationship, because I still felt, um, against all evidence, that he was a good person and that maybe, we just hadn't tried hard enough to get close like I believe we were when I was a child. Um, so I had talked to him about moving in with him. He was living in a house that was my grandfather's rental property. And when I asked him and told him why, then he said yes. And he said, he told me he would also like for us to be closer, is what he told me at the time. And so I moved in. I had my own bedroom. It was a 3-bedroom house, but it was just he and I there. And the floors in my room, for whatever reason, were not finished floors. They were still like when you have the cement at the bottom before you put the wood or carpet or whatever on, is how my floors were. And he told me that he would get the room finished, and he never did. And I was living with him for a little over a year, probably like 13 or 14 months, and the floors never got done. But I just accepted that I wouldn't have um, a real floor, so to speak. And so from the moment I moved in, um, it was really bad. It was like 14 months of hell. I was 25 at this time, but my father found out that that I was an that I was an atheist when I was about 19, and he never let it go. And he was just so mad, and he would tell me that I was going to hell and like really try to push religion onto me. And I tried to be nice by just like not bringing up the topic of religion, because I thought if I didn't bring it up, then we wouldn't argue about it and he wouldn't get mad. But he would find a way to slip it into every conversation that we had, even where like you would think it didn't even apply. Um, and so when I moved in, that continued. I was always told I was, going to hell. Everything I did was a sin and stuff like that. I was dealing with depression, which I didn't realize at the time was mostly brought on by him. And also, I think, kind of grieving my grandfather, but he didn't believe in um, mental illness unless it was his own anxiety or depression that he experienced in the past. And so he told me that my depression wasn't real and it was the devil fighting for my soul. And if I just accepted God, then I would be happier and I wouldn't be depressed anymore. And my now stepmother, but he had been dating this other lady, and she was extremely religious too, and she was saying, she would kind of say the same thing in a more subtle way, not coming out directly as mean, but still basically the same message. He got me a book. He told me he had a surprise for me one day, and it was a book basically all about how, depression is a sin, and just like a really crazy book. And it was like really upsetting. And I ended up throwing it away, I believe, after I skimmed through it. There was a lot of gaslighting, as there is with all narcissists. Everything was my fault. I would do things, or he would do things, and when I'd confront him about it, he'd say, that never happened, or he would tell me we'd do something, and then he'd say he forgot, or that he never said it. He would curse at me a lot when he got mad, and I would ask him, please don't do that. And it was always my fault for him cursing at me. Or he would say, well, I shouldn't have cursed at you because the Bible says, and then insert some Bible quote about, I guess, your the tongue is like a sword or something like that. But it was never a real I'm sorry. It was always either a justification or, yeah, I shouldn't curse at you because the Bible says this, not just because it hurts your feelings and makes you upset. So that went on a lot. He he was a truck driver, and he worked over the road. And so I was staying there by myself some of the time. And that's when I was like pretty happy because everything was like peaceful and quiet. And he just asked that I keep the house clean, do the dishes and take care of the pets. We had 2 dogs and 2 cats. And so I didn't think that was a big deal. And so I did, the stuff that he had asked me to do. And then one day, just out of the blue, we were having a conversation, and he told me that I would have to leave in about 2 or 3 months. And he was engaged at this point. He was about to get married. And so I asked him why I had to leave. And he said, well, because you don't do anything that I asked you to do. And I asked him, specifically what. I, cleaned the house. I did the dishes. I took care of the pets. I did everything. I would help him cook, or I would, cook stuff when he was home. And so what was it that I wasn't doing? And he never told me. He just said I just wasn't doing what he asked. And then he said, well, you being here is really an inconvenience to me. And again, not telling me why. I didn't think it would be, more crowded in the house, because obviously when he gets married, then he and his wife would share a room. I still had my own room. And I didn't mind having to leave, but I would have wanted, some further notice too, because I was working a job, but I was getting paid like just above minimum wage. And so 2 months being told I had to move out making $10 an hour, that was not enough time at all. And I was also really upset about being told, that I was an inconvenience and not even knowing why. And so that, made my depression a lot worse, I think. And one night when he was gone off on the road, he was out of state, and I was home by myself, and I was feeling like really, really down. And I called the the suicide prevention number, and I spoke to somebody I don't remember exactly how it went, but I know, they stayed on the phone with me for a while, and I thought I was feeling better. And so we hung up. And later that night, I was still feeling like awful. And so I called again, and a different person picked up. It was a woman, and I spoke to her, and I told her that, I was feeling suicidal, and I felt like I wanted to just drive my car and crash into something, or you know drive off the road. But I also told her that I couldn't do that because my car at the time was was not working, so I couldn't drive anyway. And so she called the police, and they showed up at the house. And I was really upset that she did that, because I was like, no, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong. Um, though there obviously was something wrong. So looking back, I am glad she called, but just in the heat of the moment, it was really, upsetting. And so the police came, and I talked to them, and they told me that I had to go with them, because they had to take me to a hospital. And I told them that I couldn't leave the house, because at this time it was like maybe 1 in the morning or something like that. It was really late. And so I told them that I couldn't leave the house because my father would be upset with me for leaving so late. And it would be an inconvenience if I left, because there would be nobody here to take care of the home, like to clean the home and take care of the animals. Um, which shows, I guess, how pretty far gone I was, that I was so concerned about staying there to take care of the house when I obviously wasn't doing good. And so, with some talking and stuff, they convinced me to accept leaving. And then I told them that before I left, I had to call my father and let him know. Again, that was not a good idea at all. And so I called my father and told him, that the police were there, and I had to go to the hospital, and I was fully feeling suicidal. And he just like raged at me. He was yelling, and he said like all the things I knew he would. Told me how, me leaving was an inconvenience, because he was going to take care of the pets, because he couldn't get home. He couldn't get home yet, and not to go, and just still telling me how the depression wasn't real, and giving me more like religious talk and stuff. And it just made me feel really bad, because even though I knew that's what he would say, I was hoping for some like comfort or sympathy, or something good. And so I did end up going to the hospital, and I was there probably about a week and a half or so. And then oh, and I'm sorry to backtrack. When I got off the phone, then I didn't want to go to the hospital again, because it made him so upset. So the police kind of had to like talk me down, um, or get me to agree again. And then I went. And so I was there about a week and a half or something like that. He didn't really come visit me. He didn't come visit me at all, actually, but he did come to pick me up. And the only reason he came to pick me up was because nobody else was able to at the time. And so he was still, you know, he felt inconvenienced about the fact that he even had to come get me during that time. And so this one is almost 15 minutes, but I do have like another chunk to say, and I don't want to go on too long. So I am going to upload the very final part right after this one. So I will talk to you soon.